So as soon as he said that, the very next thing I said to him was, "Will you be my treasurer?" All right, I'm still learning this job, so you'll bear with me. But I wanted to start out by thanking a few people. First of all, each and every one of you for taking the time and showing up, participating, because that is, as we know, 80% of it. And just so that I don't forget anybody, thanks again, Greg. He's already been a huge help. And I wanted to, real quickly, for those of you who don't know my family, Lori, my wife, thank you already. And for those who learned what we're about to do, I have two elementary schoolers probably doing what elementary schoolers do, running around in nice clothes in the grass. But thank you, and I don't think Lee's here to hear it, but happy birthday coming up, number 6. Where's Island Mike? Your entertainment tonight is my good friend and first cousin Mike Hurd, who is also a Round Rock firefighter. He's taking a break. And just all my extended family, my parents are here. I know we've got in-laws and cousins and things, and it really means a lot. They are a big part of me, and I thank them all for their support, and couldn't do it without them. Rachel Kanya and Tori Moreland have done more in 2 weeks to get this campaign started than anybody else I've seen could have done in 2 months. And I really appreciate them. They're gonna just be great. They're making the money that you guys give us go absolutely as far as it can go. They're getting the volunteers organized, and I could not ask more from 2 women. And then finally, the county line. How about this place? And Carter Hobbs and Skeeter Miller have really stepped up. They are in with us. They're going to be big supporters. They're going to be working through the Greater Austin Restaurant Association, which he is the president of. They've already been very generous to us, and so we can't thank them enough. And I think they step out, but we really, really appreciate their support. Okay, I guess for the soundbite, my name is Bill Worsham, and I want to be your first city council member from District 10 for the city of Austin. And just for those of you that I don't know well and I'm just getting to know, I wanted to give you a little bit of my background. You're welcome to read more about it online in more detail, but I just wanted to briefly say a few things, and hopefully that kind of gives a little feel for where I've been and where you might see me going. But basically, I'm a 19-year Austin resident. I'm a native Texan. I grew up in Fort Neches, Texas. I'm an Aggie engineer, a practicing civil engineer here in Austin, and have been doing that for working on civil engineering projects, and been a project manager for really about 25 years here in Texas, also in Southern California. I did my time in Southern California, and I learned a lot from it. And I think there's a lot that we can learn about some things that we shouldn't be doing from our friends in California. So I was very happy to have the opportunity to move back to Austin, as we know is the best place in Texas. And we want to keep working at it. Don't take it for granted. I've been in the public and the private sector. I've been a small business owner. And I think one thing that's important in this town especially is I am an engineer. I work for a firm that does land development here in town and in Houston. But I think it's important to know that a lot of what I do and what I have done has been in resource management and resource protection. And so my big current project right now happens to be as project manager for a restoration project for McFadden National Wildlife Refuge down on the coast. And it's a 60,000 acre refuge that we're doing a lot of work on. And I think that with that, and then also my perspective as a civil engineer on development projects, I think gives me a pretty unique perspective on some of the issues and problems we have. So I hope to take advantage of that experience. Through my employer, I'm a member of the Real Estate Council of Austin, which is it's despised in some circles and revered in others, but the long and short of it is it allows me to have a vehicle for receiving information about all types of things going on in the city of Austin. I've been on their transportation committee for some time and on their City of Austin Issues Committee also for some time, and it's been a great vehicle for receiving information about what's going on in town. And on the other side of that coin, I've also been active in the West Austin Neighborhood Group and some of the neighborhood issues that are affecting all neighborhoods. And there are some ongoing conflict, between neighborhoods and the development community. And so I like to think I'm seeing both sides of the issue as well as the environmental issue, and seeing all sides of it, and we'll be able to take advantage of that knowledge. So that's a little bit about me. I guess this is the point in the speech that I'm supposed to give you some platitudes about, a chicken in every pod, and I'm going to give each and every one of you exactly what you asked for, as a city council member. But real quickly, we're kind of focusing on three things, and we're calling them just, in shorthand, we're calling it mobility, utilities, and affordability. And so that's the short version. But mobility to me means personal mobility. It doesn't mean trying to make us all the same and put us in the same vehicle and take us from one same place to another same place, and at great cost. That's not what mobility means to me. What mobility means to me is for our low-income workers to be able to get to their job, and even better yet, their next job at a higher wage on the transit system because they don't have a car. Or it means the individual that is working that has a car to be able to get across town to the better job than the one they have now. And I just see mobility as a thing that helps lift people up economically. It builds wealth. And I want to point out that although mobility, utilities, and affordability don't appear to have an environmental component, I think that people that are moving up economically can be more environmentally friendly and can be environmentalists. And I think that personal wealth and the ability to look forward to the future is what allows people to be environmentalists. So even though you don't see it explicitly, I think there is a strong environmental component to our campaign, and will continue to be so. I don't have her statement memorized yet, but I'm going to read it real quick. This poor person, I feel bad for her because she's been quoted all around the country. And I won't give her name, but she was in the paper last week. And her comment was this: I have voted for every park, every library, all the school improvements, for light rail, for anything that will make this city better. But now I can't afford to live here anymore.
That's a liberal.
I'll protest my appraisal notice, but that's not enough. Someone needs to step in and address the big picture. Now, this person apparently was not looking in the mirror when they said this. And didn't recognize, the direct connection between our individual actions, whether as voters or as council members or whatever, and the results. And I think there's been a big disconnect in a lot of ways between intent and results. And so that'll be a big focus of what we intend to do, is look at results and not just good intentions. So I wanted to mention that because some of the fallout of that has been, okay, let's look at the big picture. The big picture is city government. Some have said, and some other candidates in other districts have said, the big picture is our city government is too big and costs too much. And I would argue that that's just part of the bigger picture. The real bigger picture, that's the seen. The unseen is that this large government, which by the way is about 12,000 people in our city government, it's all the things that are done that you don't always see. I defy you to talk to one of the people standing around you today and find someone that does not have a story about having had to try to get the variance or the permit, or just wanted to add on to their house, and just all the ordeals that they had to go through. And I have not been able to find anybody that does not have a story like that. And so just imagine, multiply that times the 800,000 people we have in this town, and imagine the lost productivity, the lost creativity, the lost philanthropy. Just imagine all of the opportunity costs that are associated with the burden of whether it's regulation or really just, quite frankly, a desire on the part of some to get in everybody else's business. So I think hopefully our campaign is going to show a little humility about what we think we know, what we think we know about your life and your life and your life, and maybe stick to our own knitting a little bit more. And hopefully we can have a city government that's a little more willing to show some humility in that way as well. So to me, what this is really about is, and what is motivating me to step in and do this is, as an engineering project manager, I've been doing one project at a time, or well, maybe 2 or 3 projects at a time, but still, it's kind of the steady march. I see this time and place as an opportunity to leverage by thousands of times, leverage each individual's opportunity to do more, in their own way in this town, and do that by, relieving some of this burden, relieving some of the feeling that we need to go to that meeting, or out of self-defense, to go make sure that our neighborhood doesn't get changed by some new policy, or that I don't get taxed out of town, or that something doesn't happen at my school that's just going to force me to, who knows what, to get animated, shall we say. And so, it's that leverage that really drives me to do what almost everyone I've talked to has said is insane, and that's step in and do this. So, but I do want to point out a few ways that, just some examples of how kind of unshackling people to be who they are can help them. And just these are just some examples in my own life recently. There were some vicious comments in the Chronicle, and this is nothing new, about a man named Jim Staggs, who many of you know, who all he has done is employed thousands of people in this town over many, many years, and has had the audacity to spend his own money to oppose various versions of rail transit that have been proposed in this town that were going to be astronomical in price and do very little. And he has just absolutely been raked over the coals for many years, including yesterday. Even while the Chronicle was saying that he was agreeing with some rail advocates that in this case are also opposing the rail. And so that's an example. What could Jim be doing for the good of this town if he were not having to spend his own time, talent, and resources opposing something that, in his mind, is the most important thing he can do to make this town better, and that's to avoid that expenditure. I met a guy named Subway Al, Jonathan Zalazo. He may be here today. He was going to try to make it.
Right here.
Jonathan, there you are. Jonathan's from New Jersey, and I met him at the Lyft rollout party a couple Fridays ago. And if you heard anything about Lyft, our city right now is trying to shut them down, because what they're trying to do is make the connection between drivers and riders, let them get around town on a peer-to-peer basis, just freely as on a volunteer basis, or on a peer-to-peer basis. And so imagine the types of things that Jonathan could do if he signed up as a Lyft driver, if they would actually let him drive, and if he were not threatened by being fined and his personal vehicle being impounded. And that has already happened twice here in town, and it's happened in other towns. Imagine Max Borders. I know Max was here. There's Max. I just met Max Borders a couple Fridays ago, but I've been reading some materials that he's written for years and years, and it was a thrill for me to meet him. And he is putting together a forum and a conference next 2 Saturdays from now on the 21st called Voice and Exit that I hope you'll look up. Just, he just strikes me as an example of, imagine if people like Max had the opportunity to be creative and not have to worry about what's going to happen to his house or his neighborhood or to the guy that's going to give him a ride. And then I want to mention Carter Hobbs and Skeeter Miller, two of the owners of the County Line. I had a good chat with them at breakfast recently and got to hear the stories of the place that we're standing in and how they've had some challenges with some neighbors. And as a result, just to make a long story short, they've ended up in the position where the Code Enforcement Division is telling them that they need to do certain things around the property here, but they won't give them the permit to do it until the fire department signs off on it. And the fire department says, you need to put up these signs, these electric signs, exit signs outside, but the Code Enforcement Division will not allow them to run the electric line to the exit sign without a permit, which requires a sign off of the fire department. Am I making myself clear? I thought so. And so I could go on and on. I know that we've got friends on the east side, Gavino Fernandez and Marcelo Tapoyo, for example, that work with the League of United Latin American Citizens. You would be amazed at how much we have in common between us on the west side and them on the east side. All you got to do is take the time to talk to them and realize that it's about transportation, it's about families, it's about taxes, it's about being able to stay in the town that you grew up in. And I really could go on and on, but I'll kind of break it off there. Just to wrap it up, I really just want to say we're stepping up, and many people in this room have already stepped up. And what we want to do is give you guys the opportunity to do something. So the question is, if we can take some of these burdens off of you, what would you do? What would you do that's more creative, more productive, more philanthropic? And then the last thing I'll leave you with is, what will you do to help us make this happen? And this is the least favorite thing for me or anybody else to do, but I have to ask you, it's about time, talent, and resources. We'll take any of the above, we'll take all of the above, but if you can't dedicate a little bit of time or some of your talent, we would at least appreciate some resources, and you can start right out here at the front table, but starting now and all the way through November, we will truly appreciate all of the help we get from each and every one of you. We appreciate you telling your friends. We appreciate the Facebook likes. And we just want to tell you to just go forth, do good, help us on this journey. And we just could not be happier that you guys are here and supporting us. And with that, I want to turn the mic over to Rachel. I'm sure she told me that was what I was supposed to do. Thanks all so much.